Welcome to the Maria Heller Show, the Internet's original podcast. Since the year 2000, always ahead of the curve, always on your side. A true warrior for truth and justice, Maria and her guests leave nothing out, and no one is off limits. There is only one truth, the rest is lies. Sit back, enjoy the education with a true daughter of Mother Earth. Sharp New York wit, spiritual knowing, and a very dry sense of humor, Maria will dissect the news and lies to make it all palatable. Education is power. Maria delivers rapid-fire truth like no one else can. Here she is, the mouth that roars, the legendary Meria Heller.
Good morning, world. Maria here, alive and kicking. Welcome to our newest monthly show, Waking Up with Meria and Monnica, with my co-host, Monnica Sepulveda. Monnica is a great intuitive therapist, numerologist, teacher. The list goes on and on. You can check her work out at Monnica, that's with 2 N's.com. There's a live link here, so you can just click on through. Good morning, Monnica.
Good morning. This is a show called The M&Ms, right?
The M&Ms. Two wild and crazy girls.
The M&Ms with nuts.
With plenty of nuts.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because I know you follow the news and I know you listen to the show.
Yes.
And I was thinking that, you know, a lot of people are on their last nerve. So today might be a good time to also cover how to relax, how to spiritually relax themselves, how to relax your mind, your body, how to ground, how to center.
Oh my God, that is so important right now, Maria. You're absolutely right. Because if each individual takes care of their own space, we change our frequency to one of love rather than fear or worry or doubt. And when you send that energy out, the planet changes itself. You're doing a favor to not only yourself, but everybody else, because we're so connected.
Absolutely. And then people don't realize that everything is frequency and everything is energy.
Exactly.
And you know, I don't know if you had time to hear the show I did with David yesterday, but we spent
I haven't heard it yet. I downloaded it, though.
Oh, good. Well, we spent a lot of time talking about the energy of fear that's out there and how they use that energy, and specifically in Hamburg with those protests that got violent, that kind of energy just creates more of the same. It's like fire fighting fire.
Yeah. Well, there's certainly, the agenda is certainly trying to keep us in fear. And a lot of people buy into that, but you've got to be smarter. You got to say there is no freaking way that can I swear?
Sure, of course.
There's no fucking way that you're going to get me to buy into fear. Because fear, definition of fear is an absence of love. Hello? You know, when you know that truth, and fear is an acronym, false evidence appearing real. When you look at those things, you realize that the only thing that causes things to go right and well is love. So why in the world would you entertain those emotions of fear, doubt, and worry?
Right. Well, you know,
doesn't make sense.
I agree. Well, you know, I did a show a couple of years ago with a woman who wrote a great book on why worry, basically. And she made an interesting little point. She said 80% of what we worry about never happens.
Exactly.
So why worry? You know what I mean? But people still want to worry. You know, I use a different acronym for fear. I call it forever experiencing another reality.
Oh, I love that.
And I think,
I love that. And you know that worry really damages our health. So it's not worth it to me. I'm not willing to sacrifice my health because of worry, because it absolutely accomplishes nothing. What it does is it brings so much stress that it lowers the immune system and we get sick. But it doesn't have any solution. It just does a lot of damage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think if everybody sat back and thinks about what they worried about a year ago, they probably can't remember what it was.
I just read that someplace recently, and it's like you sit there and go, why did I worry about this so much? Things always tend to work out, but you've got to start the day with set the tone for the day, I've always been told. You know, for me, I do my own process of connecting my heart to source. Source meaning spirit, higher power, the great I am, love. Some people call it God. I don't call it the universe because to me that's limiting that source, because the source did create the universe. So why give it up to the universe if there's something greater than that?
Right.
And I do that every morning. It doesn't take long. It takes a few seconds just to simply say, my heart is connected to yours. And we're not, a drop of the ocean. We are the ocean in a drop. So we are one and the same. And that, for some reason, brings me a sense of balance and comfort.
No, I could totally understand it. Look, I set my intention the first thing in the morning and last thing at night. If you can start your day with a simple little quick spiritual practice and end it the same way, you're going to have good days. Nobody's saying they're going to be perfect, but they're going to be good days.
Well, you're absolutely right. One of my mentors, when I was 22 years old, I was in his Learjet, and he said, if you don't start the day by setting the tone, he said, then it's like calling Sears and giving them your credit card and saying, send me anything.
Right. Hey, I had an experience with some wacko like that once. And what a story that is. But I'll give it to you in a nutshell. Years ago, I was asked to teach on an intuition cruise. And at the time, of course, I was teaching the medicine wheel and Native American spirituality. So I was all for it. I had never done anything like that. And I took one of my students with me. And while the ship was loading in Florida, all the other teachers were coming aboard. There were probably about 20. And this one woman comes in. She's the last one. She's got this huge gong, a real gong. It must have been like 4 feet big, you know what I mean? And
wow.
And she looked like olive oil. That's what I remember about her. And they give her the opening prayers to say for this spiritual group on this journey, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, as I'm listening to her, she's calling in this spirit, that spirit, whatever. And then I start hearing her. She must have ran out of names. She starts calling in all these dark energies, right? So I immediately grabbed my student's hand. I said, put a protection around yourself right now, right?
Right now.
And then she finishes with, believe it or not, Monica, she says, and I call on the spirit of whatever. She actually said that. So now we start cruising the 7 seas, which I hate as an earth sign. My feet need to be on the floor, on dirt. And as we're going along, we go through the Bermuda Triangle, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, the ship breaks down. And when the captain comes on, nothing's working. Captain comes on and says, we're dead in the water. Okay, I'm saying to myself, no shit, we already figured that out. So we're dead in the water for like 24 hours in the Bermuda Triangle. There were a few normal people on the ship who I had met before that happened, and they were looking all over the ship for me. Well, I took my students and we got to find a wheel somewhere, and I figured I'd sit in the shuffleboard circle, right? So I'm sitting in the shuffleboard circle calling on my guides and spirit to protect me. And I look up and there's about 11 or 12 spaceships flying around the moon. Now,
I love it.
Now you got to understand, up until that very minute, I gave no credibility to UFOs. Zero. And yet there it is. I'm seeing it with my own eyes, right?
It's great.
Seeing is believing. Yeah, but my thought was they were there for nefarious purpose. That's what I was getting. Well, I see this other couple that was normal who finally finds me sitting in the shuffleboard circle, and they come running towards me, and they're like in a panic, and they're like, Meria, are you seeing what we're seeing? What is it? And I said, remember when olive oil called in the spirit of whatever? I said, whatever has just arrived. And I can tell you this. There was an extreme personality change on everybody on that ship by the next day. And my first thought was invasion of the body snatchers. So I decided I wasn't going to drink. I was going to keep my faculties, and I was going to stay awake all night. And that was, of course, the last cruise I ever took and the last one I ever will take.
Oh, my gosh. Well, seeing them is a bit intimidating. But then for me, I always wanted to see them every night. So I looked at the stars every night. I did see them a total of 4 times. And 5 times, actually, and I was never alone. I'm fascinated by it, but if they're going to hurt us, they would have done it a long time ago.
Right. Well, this particular, listen, I've seen other ships all around. I live in Arizona. You can't miss them. And a lot of them were a lot of them were very friendly. That movie Fire in the Sky was shot in Heber, where I used to have property, and they used to come in almost every time I was up there. but they were, you can sense that they were harmless. I knew what was happening on that cruise was not a good thing. And to me, it was like, oh my God, is this the Titanic chapter 2? You know, because we all know about the energy in the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, I've been there, and I had the weirdest dreams when I was on a cruise, and I felt a totally different reality, and I just woke up and I said, whoa, where were they? And they said, oh, we went over the Bermuda Triangle. Well, no wonder. It was the strangest thing I've ever been through.
Well, imagine being
stuck
in the middle of it for 24 hours. I was like, holy crap. And then another boat goes by, just like during the Titanic. Another boat goes by, flashes their lights to see if we needed help, and the captain just waved them on. And I was like, I looked at my girlfriend, and I was like, oh my God. I said, is this going to be like a redo of the Titanic? Been there, done that, don't want to do that again. And it was just a crazy experience. And of course, they tried to blame it on me because I had done a full moon ceremony the night before, and we got the rings around the moon when I was done, which is the way universe responds to something sacred. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what about olive oil with her spirit or whatever? I'm like, what the hell was this? So, you know, listen, I've been on a couple of those types of supposed spiritual sojourns, you know, with the pilgrims. And I can tell you that those are things I'll never do again because those people are not for real. And the way they conducted themselves overseas, it was anything but a spiritual journey.
Wow.
So, you know, there's always that importance of be careful who you align your name with even on a marquee. Because I found that a lot of people I respected as teachers in real life were not walking the talk.
Oh my gosh, I've run into so many of them. I'm not even going to name them because when people ask, oh, I just love this person, I'm like, oh, that person's right, like evil.
Right.
And I always get confirmation, you know, like someone always knows that person. I go, wait till I tell you about this one. I'm like, I knew it. I just knew it. You can feel it.
Right, exactly.
You know, if you stay in tune with your own intuition, it doesn't lie. It tells us the truth, you know. So the key is don't stay in the cerebral part of the brain, the left brain. Let your intuition come through and guide you, but you have to be very calm to do it, which is why you set the tone of the day so that you're in a good space. That's how you have to start it, and then the rest takes place by itself. But most people go into the emotional center way too much, and they're allowed it to be manipulated by outside forces, which to me, I just say, fuck you. Right. There's no fucking way that you're going to take over my emotions. I own my emotions. And these that are toxic, I let them go, but I let them go with lots of love because I'm not going to send negative energy out to the planet. I'm going to bless it first, and I'm going to have a chat with it. Why were you within me? Can you explain why? And then if you talk to it as if that emotion turns into a little person, it will actually tell you why it's been within you. And it'll actually educate us to tell us, you know, I've been with you for 20 years because when this and this and this happened to you, that's when I took over. I thought I was helping you. So you have to have a nice little talk with it, and you have to set it free, but you make sure that you convert it. I always give it an assignment. Go to the nearest animal hospital and heal the animals, you know, and it goes, okay.
Right. Or something negative shows up.
You can convert energy. I mean, even Einstein said that. You can't create energy, you can't destroy it, but you can convert it. And people need to learn how to do that more often, and you don't stay in a negative place because that's called suffering. And pain, even emotional pain, was never meant to cause suffering. It was meant to wake us up, to give us a message. Hey, make a change on the inside.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And that's what we need to do. So anyway, the one of the things that you were talking to me about before is that you wanted me to give some insight on a particular, is it a friend of yours or someone that you
Actually,
know?
she's a really good supporter of the show, and she's somebody that's been a client of mine for a long time. And I did put out on the show, I forgot to tell you, when I announced the show, I said, if anybody has any specific topics or questions you want us to cover, just send it in. And she did, and we'll keep her name, anonymous.
Yes.
But what she had written was for her son, Fernando. She said his father died in 1994 when he was 8, 8 years old, the boy, obviously. And that he sometimes feels his father around him, has dreams about him, but he can't get the message clear and wants to know if his father has a message for him.
Yeah, actually, I do have a message because I contacted him this morning. I said, I want you to be here for the show. And he said, I'm already here. So I just thought, because I'm a medium, I've been doing this mediumship work since my cousin died in 1980. And what he said to me was that he was so glad that he passed. He said he never would have been the same. It loses a quality life when you are different, you're impaired. And he said that he was glad he crossed over, and he's very, very happy. But he said he's been helping his son for a long time. And he said that his son needs to trust whenever he feels him around, because he is around him. The message is, I love you. It's so simple. I love you, and I'm here for you. The key is, he told me that his son's brain is too active. It's always moving mile an hour, and it's like 5 miles an hour, and he can't get through to him, so his son doesn't know how to receive the message. But to trust that when he feels him, let that love come into his heart, because that'll really help him. He told me his son is extremely talented, and he's going to be very successful. He's so proud of him, but he misses his father. He misses the energy of his father being in his life. But it's easy for me to teach a person how to connect with a person and to do what I do, because it's not hard. Some people think, oh, you've got these powers and these gifts. They're not powers. They're gifts that we all have. It's just in a different part of the brain, that's all. So what I do is I teach that, and if a person wants that kind of lesson, it's like, okay, let me show you exactly what you need to do, because there are exercises involved. Just like if you go to a gym and you want to have a great body, it's not going to happen in one day. You're going to have to do this repeatedly.
All right.
So I'm hearing from his father that he wants to be in touch with him more, but the son is always too busy, and so he can't get through. It's kind of like when you call someone and their phone number is always busy.
Right.
It's like, oh, shit, and they don't have voicemail.
All right, you can't get through.
So that's what he's trying to do, but the son needs to calm down, because he's always got a lot on his plate, and that's what he said to me.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty
Yeah,
much
so-
in
and it's
alignment
not
with
enough
what
just
that's pretty much in alignment with what I usually pick up from him as well.
Yeah, well, there you go, because he's not going to lie to either one of us. He's going to tell us the truth. But his son needs to calm down so he can hear the message.
Right.
You know, and he's there to give him guidance as well, because he knows his son would love to talk to him and just, you know, run things by him. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? You know, because he trusted that. Right now he's kind of like on his own, but he's a strong person. His son's a very strong person, strong character, and he has a very strong drive to do well in this lifetime, and he will. The father was telling me that his son is going to be very successful, and nothing's going to cause him to deviate from that, because he's already made up his mind.
Good. All good news, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
he just wants him to calm down a little bit, because he takes on too much. And taking on too much, as you know, it's like we're not a human doing, we're a human being.
Well, that's the thing. People don't realize that sometimes you just have to be in the quiet in order to receive.
Amen.
You know, and they make meditation seem so difficult, because I believe meditation's been mistaught for so long.
So I so agree with you, Meria. I don't even like to meditate. I like to visualize.
Right. Well, for me,
know?
it's more daydreaming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know, to me, whatever you're concentrating on, you're in a meditative state. And I've watched so many people through the years in different classes and groups be so frustrated because they're not getting visions or full-blown movies, you know, like everybody else. And they put so much pressure on themselves when all it is just get quiet. You know, work in the garden, you know, do a painting, sit and listen to some classical music.
Don't you think that, because, art, that's a great way to go into a meditative state. I actually color. I buy mandala coloring books, and I get felt tip pens, like a box of 100.
Right.
And I'll sit there, and I'll have people come over, and we'll put the mandalas in the middle of the table, and all the colors, and people pick a mandala that they like. They look like stained glass windows. Mm-hmm. And then you pick your colors, and you start coloring the mandala, and you sit there and have some wine and just, you know, talk and bond. And by the time you're done, you've painted the mandala the color that your body needs in order to balance out the chakras. So it's an open-eyed meditation, and then you actually just take a thumbtack and put it up on your wall, and you look at it and breathe in those colors, and it actually balances you out. It's really effective, and it's a lot of fun. Then I heard, I've been doing this since the 80s, and I heard all of a sudden on the news about a month ago that it's all the rage in New York.
Oh, yeah,
grown-up
coloring books, right? Grown-up coloring books. They're all over the place in Arizona.
Oh, well, hello, you guys are in a place that's kind of evolved, right?
Right, but I mean, if you think about it, when you were a little kid, or you look at little kids coloring with crayons, they're totally into it. They're in the zone. They're already there, just sitting down and coloring.
Yeah, because it's right brain activity.
Exactly. Because, I know
And
when
I always tell people, if you're too left brain, put more weight, because the left brain controls the right side of the body. The right brain, intuition, controls the left side of the body. And if you need more intuitive information, then shift your weight when you're standing in line or something. Shift your weight all the way to the left-hand side of the body, so you're standing there, and start picking things up with the left hand, doing things with the left hand, and that will start triggering the right brain. It's so simple. These tools are easy.
Right. Well, being left-handed, I like that expression that only left-handed people are in their right mind.
Yeah. Are you left-handed too?
Yes, I am.
So am I.
Well, what a coinkydink.
I know.
When I was a kid, because I grew up in an Italian neighborhood, they believed if you were left-handed, you were the devil, because the devil is left-handed.
Oh, yeah, they used to always hit your hand. But, they used to try to give me lefty scissors, and I can't do anything but write with my left hand. Everything else I do with my right hand, so it's ambidextrous.
Uh-huh.
And I don't write, like, upside down. Like some people that write with their left hand, they put their hand above, and it looks really weird and retarded. But
No, I don't either. I turn the page. I move the paper.
I turn the page.
And that used to really bother me when I used to watch Barack Obama sign something with his hand all twisted. I'm like, wow, if you want carpal tunnel syndrome, that's the way to get it.
That's exactly right. No, I write underneath the page, like my arm's not up or my hand's not over, it's below. So that's why people don't notice I'm left-handed. But I like being left-handed.
I do too. It's we're more creative. If I get
creative,
any more creative, I might explode. Anyway,
I don't know if you are okay with this, but I love for the listeners, sometimes they just can't get through, or you have a force that doesn't allow that to happen.
Uh-huh.
Teach every listener something about themselves. And with the information I have today, I can quickly teach them how to look at their lives and look at what they're going on through this year, their theme, so to speak. So if you would allow me to do that, I would love.
Yeah, of course. I'd love to hear it myself.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to use your birth date, not the year, just the month and day.
Okay.
So what we're going to learn is the numerology personal year. The personal year will let you know what this year is all about and what you need to be doing in order to accentuate and get the best out of it. So there is a positive interpretation, but there's also the flip side of the coin, a negative interpretation if you don't do the positive.
Right.
So that's just the way it is. So here, let's get started. If you guys want to get some pen and paper, or just, or listen to this, and you can always email me, and I'll just send you the information via email. That's easy, too. So what you want to do is this. In order to find out what your personal year is, you take the birth month, like, you're born on the 12th month, but in numerology, we always reduce 2 digits to a single digit. So the 12th month then becomes a 3 because 1 plus 2 equals 3, correct?
Right.
Then you're born on the 21st day of December, and that, again, is a 2 plus 1 equals 3. So now we have 2 threes. You total those 2 threes, and that gives you the number 6, correct?
Right.
You add your month, birth of month, and birthday, total those, get a single digit, and then you add it to the current calendar year. This year's 2017, so basically it's this. 2 plus 1 plus 7 equals 10. Then 1 plus 0 equals 1 because we reduced to a single digit. So now you have your 6, and now you have your number 1 for the current year. You total those two, and you have a 7. So Meria, you're in a 7 personal year, which brings for you opportunities to set up even a more successful business and expand it. But since your birthday is at the end of the year, it really doesn't kick in until after you've had your birthday. So you're one of those that has to kind of wait till the end of the year.
Uh-huh.
Mine's in April 10th. So April 10th would be 410, which is 14. That's 1 plus 4 equals 5. And I add the 5 to the current year, 2017, which is a 1, and that gives me a 6. So what I want the listeners to do is to figure this out. It takes a few seconds just to total the numbers. It's not rocket science. So simple. And then I want to tell you what each year means so that you know.
Right. So in other words, they're going to total their month numbers and their day number. Then they're going to add it to 2017, which is a 10, which reduces to a 1. And then they're going to add that, and you always reduce it. Is that correct?
Yeah, to a single digit. Anytime you have a double digit, you add those two together and reduce to a single digit. So if somebody was born on 11/24, the 11 becomes a 2, the 24 becomes a 6, 2 plus 6 is 8. You add that to the current year, which is 2017, which is a 1, and that totals to a 9.
All right.
So I'm going to quickly go through what each number brings to you and what to focus. And remember, you can always download this show and go through it again. Instead of taking notes, you can just do it later, But I just want to get through these because it is so freaking accurate. I mean, it's so accurate.
Yeah, let's hear it. So what would you call it? Like a number 1 personal year?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm going to go through the personal years. I'm going to go through all 9 of them. But there's actually an 11 and a 22 and a 33. But the personal years are typically number 1 through 9. So if your birthday and the current year total to a 1, it means new beginnings, set goals, initiate. You're on your own, so focus on yourself. It's kind of like the best time, like when you buy a package of seeds, it says plant these in March. It gives you the timing. This is about timing. So plant the new seeds and don't expect them to grow the next day because you have to be patient. To be impatient is ridiculous because that's like being pregnant, saying, okay, I've been pregnant 5 months, I want to give birth now. No, you got to wait the 9 months, and everything has a cycle. So you start things in a 1 year, start businesses in a 1 year. You can start not relationships because this is about you, and relationships involves another human being. So it's about you maximizing and getting the best that you can out of what you've initiated and what you've done. There is a negative side to the 1, and that's when the person goes into the false side of an ego. There's non-action. They just contemplate. But what happens when you have beautiful soil in your backyard and you don't plant anything? You're like, well, I want these beautiful flowers, but you didn't plant anything. You have to initiate. And like I say, if you don't plant the seeds, you're going to grow weeds. Mm-hmm. And then you're sitting there complaining, why is my life not working? Well, hey,
right.
You got to plant the seeds first,
Right.
So people can make poor choices that leads to negative results, and they become self-serving, and then they complain. But you didn't take the action. That's why it says in Scripture a long time ago when I used to study it, God helps those who help themselves. We have to help ourselves, and we have to make those choices because our responsibility on this planet is free will, which means to choose. Make a decision. Mm-hmm. Choose. And don't keep making the same old decisions because you're going to get the same results. Okay, if you're in a 2-year, if you think about the scales of justice, what does that represent? Balance. So the balance is mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. That is quite a task. So if you're waking up really negative, you have to look to see, is this mental? Is this emotional? Is it spiritual? Is this physical? Well, typically it's because they're not even focusing in on the spirit, which is the one that creates the balance. Because we are spirit, after all, having a human experience, right?
Right.
And so when you focus on the 2, balance, you have to maintain focus on starting your day correctly, setting the tone for the day. And you want peace, harmony, and balance on every level, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. The negative would be out of balance. No harmony, no peace, no mental happiness. The emotions are all over the map. And that's because we're not taking care of one of those 4. So we're looking at the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. So the negative, the 2 is a very important year because we started the 1 year focusing on the self, but we did to continue it in the 2 year. In the 3 year, if your birthday totaled to a 3 with the current calendar year, it's my favorite year. It's about intuition and joy and learning and teaching and creativity and music and laughter and fun. It's so many wonderful things. It's all accelerated. But if you get into the negative part of the 3, that's depression, being overly cerebral, being emotional and confused, and just being a pain in the ass to be around. So we still have to focus on the self because we have to make sure that we're on the right side of that 3. It can be the most fun year or it can be the most dreaded year. The number 4, it has to do with work, being organized, being focused, getting out there and just doing it. And the negative part of it is creature of habit, because when you think of the number 4, it does form a box, 4 sides, and it equals a box. So a lot of times people, being creature of habit, will stay in that box and they're afraid to get out. And they're afraid to get out because they don't understand that the future may hold something better for them. They'd rather stay in that little safe box. But no, the key is to think outside the box, open one side, and get out there and make new choices. The 4 makes you feel like you're back in the driver's seat also, especially if you didn't handle the 3-year very well and you were emotionally on a roller coaster. The 4 gives you the opportunity to get back behind the wheel and to take charge and just go for it. So I like that 4. The 5 is really cool because it's all about change. So it's about options and opportunities and job offers. There's usually a change of residence in a 5 or a change of job, one of the two or both. And the negative side to a 5 is because it brings so much into your life, it can scatter the energy on a mental level, and then there's no clarity, so therefore people end up making bad choices because it's too impulsive. So the key here is to see when you've asked for it, you got a Toyota, so to speak, that when you wanted a job change and that all of a sudden appears, don't sit there and wonder, was this the one?
Right.
It.
Right.
You know, it came there for a reason, you know? So that 5 is really important because that's kind of like the saving grace. If you didn't handle the first 4 years very well, the 5 is what comes to save you. Go with the flow. Look at what's being offered to you. Don't say, I wanted a job, but then here it is. Is this the one? What if it's not the right one? That's going back into the left brain of emotional fears and worries and doubts, which serve nothing. They do nothing good. So going into the 6.
Hey, hold on there. Before you go into the 6, we need to take a short break. So,
okay, sure.
So all you people still contemplating on 5, hang with us because we're about to come back with 6. Hi, this is Maria Heller. If you're enjoying this show, please consider listening to the rest of it along with hundreds of other hours of education by a small subscription on my site. Get over to meria.net, meria.net. You are the only thing that supports this show. There's no corporate control, and there's plenty of education on site. So please consider either a subscription or a donation to keep the work going. There are too many alternative voices out there that are being silenced because of lack of support. So if you don't want MSM to be the only mind-controlling news out there, please consider supporting the people that support you and help us all save something for the future for our children. Thank you so much.